Look at this new filming spot unlocked. Hi friends, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. I'm pretty pumped about this. I'm in the process of like building out a little desk in this corner because there's two windows here and I just set up the desk. I haven't finished it, but it is a great filming spot. So today we're going to film our video right here while I get ready for the day. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably already knew this was coming. I basically did a whole huge content brainstorming session trying to figure out like what you guys wanted, what would bring value to you, what would be fun for you to watch. And by a landslide, a little advice column won, like a sisterly advice Q&A. I am a big sister, so I do tend to give unsolicited big sister advice pretty often, but I do want to say take all of this with a grain of salt. I also said this on Instagram. I have been known to previously make some questionable decisions, which in some ways gave me some wisdom, and in some ways, you know, don't take everything I say too seriously. But y'all sent in so many good questions. So this will be part one. Part two will be out next Monday in exactly a week from now. Let's get ready for the day and let's answer some things that you guys need advice on. These are in no particular order, a ton of different topics. Some of them were asked actually quite a few handful of times by a lot of people, and some of them are very specific, a little more juicy, hard situation type of questions. So let's start here. I'm thinking about moving states and I'm really scared I won't make friends. I pulled this one because this is probably the top 3 question that I saw y'all ask, and that's like, how do I make friends as an adult? And I think making friends requires you to step out of your comfort zone a lot. The first thing that I would encourage you to do is like really commit to a spot that you have an interest in. What I mean by that is if you love yoga, commit to a yoga studio, get a membership, go 3 days a week. Or if you are a Christian like me, commit to a church, show up to that church. Volunteer. If you like pottery, commit to a pottery studio. I'm trying to think of free alternatives similar to church. If there's like a Parks and Rec division and you love volleyball, maybe there's a free adult volleyball that you could sign up for. I think consistently showing up to the same spot that other people have a similar interest to you is the first step. And then you have something to bond over, something to do together, and you're seeing them time after time again. But taking it from acquaintances to friendship does require you stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit. And that is maybe saying, hey, what's your Instagram? We should like keep up with each other that way. Or, hey, I'm thinking about putting together some sort of girls' night. I would love to invite you if I can get your number. Making that first move and then facilitating some sort of hang. I feel like a group hang is so much less intimidating. I still get intimidated by one-on-one hangs with people, but if it's like 4 or 5 people and you're putting it together and you're hosting, yes, it does take some intentionality on your part. It does take some work and some effort, but I also want to say it doesn't have to require you spending money. It doesn't have to require you having a home big enough to host people in. You could just say, we're all going to go meet at this park and everybody bring your own picnic. Let's go watch sunset. Let's go do a walk. And facilitating something out and about and doing that a few times as a group is, in my opinion, the best way to make some really solid friendships. Things to do for yourself when you're going through a stressful time. I would say just budget in as much time as you can for anything that feels relaxing to you. And I know that sounds like a simple answer, but it's kind of hard to do sometimes, to be honest, to be like, if someone asks you to do something, help with something, hang out, and you already have on the calendar Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights, I am going to just recuperate, rest, and recharge. And you can say, oh, I'm so sorry, I already have a conflict on the calendar, but let's find another time that works for you. For me, honestly, a lot of that is movement and sleep. The more and more I learn about the human body, the more and more I realize that sleep helps to regulate your nervous system so much, and so does movement. And so whenever I'm super stressed, I feel light years better if I take some sort of a walk or even a stretch and then get 9 hours of sleep. I know that's a luxury, especially if you have kids, but just trying to prioritize that in any way you can, I think is, at least for me, the most helpful thing that I can do during a stressful time. Okay, I had this question in several ways. I wrote down 2 different versions of it. How do you handle people's judgment during divorce? Currently going through it. Or similar, how do I tell people and family that I'm not as close with that I'm going through a divorce? I remember being in that phase and it being so hard, and there was only a couple people that I wanted to tell face to face, like my parents, my sibling, and my grandparents. Like those were the only people that I really wanted to be like, hey, I need to tell you, like, this is what is happening. And it was a slow build. So at that point they already knew. But I remember being terrified to sit down and tell my grandparents because it felt just like so heavy and daunting. What I did is I told my parents, hey, can you just tell everyone what's going on so that like I don't have to be the one to say it and they just know that, because saying it and telling people like, hey, I am moving forward with a divorce is, at least for me, like the most daunting part of it all. To address the judgment part of it, people are going to have assumptions and thoughts and opinions no matter what, whether they know you better or they know your partner better that you're getting a divorce from. Everyone's going to try to fill in the blanks of what they may or may not know about you and your situation, and that by definition is judgment. Like they are making a judgment of some sorts. Their perception and judgment does not change the truth of what you might be going through or the reasons that it might be happening. And there's no way to win and let everybody know the full situation. And I think just kind of coming to terms with that of like, this is part of the process and people are going to assume things about it and there's no winning, kind of brings a weird level of like comfort. I just got my first big girl job and I'm curious about saving and credit cards. What is the best way to choose how to do that? I do feel like there's a little bit of an epidemic in this world by the way people treat credit cards. I love putting as much as I can on a credit card. I put almost everything on a credit card because I want to maximize like the perks and the points of it. I fly a lot of places, so I put all of everything I do onto a Southwest credit card. And I was able to just work with them on Instagram recently, which was actually a dream come true and crazy. But if you are considering getting a credit card, I think it is so great and awesome to build credit. I think it is so great and awesome to kind of strategize your spending and how you pay for things in order to get free things. Like I almost never pay for a flight. I pretty much fly for free everywhere I go because of that, and that has saved me a lot of money. But I would say don't allow yourself to open up a credit card if you think you might put more on it than you could pay off by the end of the month. I would only open a credit card if you feel confident that you could set it up on auto pay to pay off the full balance of it at the end of every month. I know emergencies can happen, and I know it takes a long time to build up a savings account and an emergency fund if an emergency should happen. But I do think that a lot of people very casually put things that they want on a credit card and think, I might not be able to necessarily pay for that this month, but I'm just gonna pay it next month or the month after that. But they don't realize that these cards have like 20% interest. And so the cost of that $100 concert ticket might end up being hundreds of dollars by the time you finally pay it off. So that is my main advice, big sister advice to you if you just got your first big girl job and you're wanting to open a credit card and start building credit history and maybe start maximizing some points and getting some free perks. I'm so for it. I love it. It's helped me build credit in order to buy a car, buy a house, all those sorts of things. But just be so careful. And I would really, really, really encourage you, set it up on auto pay. And unless it is like a life or death emergency, do not put anything on the card that you can't pay off at the end of the month. I'm so unmotivated to organize my home because I'm overwhelmed. Where do I start? I get that totally. I would say if you are wanting to organize your home and if that's like something that you desire, first off, like romanticize it and incentivize it. For me, organizing is like my me time. I am a little addicted to it. I see the comments of people being like, why are you organizing again? But for me, it's almost like meditative, and I will put on a podcast while I just do something physical and just piddle paddle, walk around, get things organized. And so I have created this almost activity out of it to where it's like I light a candle, I put on a podcast, I'm just vibing. It is me time. So that's one thing you could do. But otherwise, I would say pick an area that feels actually the most fun. It might not be fun, but it might be the most fun out of the things you need to do. Maybe it's just your like skincare or your makeup, and just think, how nice would it be if I could open this drawer and just see everything and have it laid out? That's all I'm gonna do today. I'm not gonna do the daunting organization that I like need to do. I'm just gonna do this one for fun, for me. You might love the feeling of the results so much that it might motivate you to start organizing the less fun areas. At least that helps me. Would you advise spending more time looking for a house when house hunting than you did? If y'all have been around, you know that we kind of put in an offer on this house on a whim, thinking no way do we stand a chance getting this house, because they were already in like counter offer phases with a lot of offers. And the day that they were countering, we were like, let's just throw our hat in the ring and see what happens. Like, we're 2 kids, we don't really stand a chance, but like we'd regret not trying, and it'll be good practice, basically is what we thought. And we ended up getting the house, which is crazy. But along with that came a lot of learning things. This house came with a lot of issues that we didn't know. And we were talked into doing a really fast close by the real estate agents. They were like, we're just going to make your offer aggressive and we're going to do this. And we were kind of like, okay, you're the professional. And because of that, we didn't get like a secondary inspection. We just had the real estate agent just handle that on her own and use one of their inspectors and all these sorts of things. And that is what I regret. I regret not taking as much time with the due diligence process of this house, because some massive, massive issues have popped up that, even though I adore this house, we absolutely would not have bought, because it is costing us like literally actually hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think if you see a house you love, you don't need to be like, oh no, I just started looking this week, I shouldn't put an offer in on it because I need to do my due diligence and look for a long time. I don't think you need to look for a long time, but I think if you put an offer in on a house and it's accepted, I think take your time with the full inspection period, all those sorts of things. Just really do your due diligence there, because that's the thing that you don't want to rush. But I would hate for you to pass up on a house you really love just because you started looking this week and it hit the market this week. You know, it might go away and you might regret never trying. This one's vulnerable and I appreciate it. It says, I'm feeling envy for my best friend and roommate who moved out to live with her boyfriend while I'm newly single after a bad breakup. How do you deal with feeling envy for a friend that I truly love deeply? I think it is awesome and so self-aware for you to admit that you're feeling envious of the situation. I think that's a word that people really struggle to utilize when they are actually feeling feelings of envy. It's a vulnerable thing to admit and say, I'm envious of her situation because I'm going through a hard season and she's going through a joyful season. But the fact that you really truly love her and support her, I think is beautiful. And I do think being able to be excited for her in her maybe joyful season of like taking her relationship to the next level with her boyfriend and moving in and like starting that whole journey is important if you want to continue to be a best friend in her life. And I know it's hard to separate your hurt from their joy. Like similarly, I remember, this is like a totally different situation, but like kind of not. I remember like right in like the thick of my divorce at the very beginning, I was a maid of honor. And that's kind of a similar thing of like, I'm really hurting while this person is like in a very joyous, celebratory season. How am I there for them, not dampen their day and truly be joyful for them without making it about me, but also respecting the way that like I feel and being cautious to protect my emotions. And that's a tricky dance. I think therapy is awesome. I know that it is an expense and yet again, also a privilege, but being able to talk through and navigate your own feelings with a third party someone so that you can still be supportive of someone you truly deeply care about in a different phase of life is helpful for sure. In Jordy's words, double tapping on that, like, you know, opening a tab on a computer and expanding it and reading more about it. Double tap on that envy and really dive into it for your sake and for your own healing. And I think it will help you be an even more supportive friend and maybe move your healing journey along quicker. What is the best way to connect with your husband? Well, I have a couple thoughts about this. I feel like men do bond doing activities together. Taking that concept and applying it to your marriage might also be helpful of like, hey, I found this really fun ingredient at the grocery store. Do you want to like play around and like just improvise a dinner together? That's something Jordy and I do a lot. That type of thing is a really great connection source. But then also something that we do is having intentional time with phones face down. Face down phones. We have coffee time in the morning most mornings, and that is kind of a time where our phone is away. And so if someone wanted to get a hold of us, so sorry. No distractions allowed. This time is for us. And that has been really helpful with like building genuine, focused connection without a distraction. This one's hard. How do I deal with a close friend that no longer wants me to be in their life? It's hard because friendships, relationships, anything like that does require both people putting an effort if it's going to sustain itself at all. So I think if they have point blank said like, hey, I need to step back and I don't necessarily want you in my life anymore, then all you can really do is let them know how much they mean to you and how you feel about the situation, and then kind of like respect that. And I know that that sucks. I think still keeping up with them occasionally and, you know, every month or two being like thinking about you, hope all is going well, like that's fine, I think. I don't think you can force a friend that doesn't want to be your friend. Taking that to a therapist and kind of working through that outside of that friendship. How many times am I going to answer therapy is helpful to these things? But I do think it is. But yeah, I do think in order to have proper closure, if a friend doesn't want to be in your life anymore, telling them how you feel about them and the impact that they've made on your life is a healthy thing to do. And with that, I'm going to do my eyeliner, which I cannot move my face and do my eyeliner, so I kind of can't really talk when I do this. Okay, eyeliner's on. On to the next. I got dumped in April over the phone from a 7-year relationship. I'm worried I'm moving on too fast from other people's perceptions. Personally, I think that's great. People's perceptions, you have no control over them. There's nothing you can do. Like wasting your energy trying to control the way that people perceive you and your life and your personal choices and what you're going through is for what? And easier said than done. Like, who am I to speak? I literally get anxiety about that every single day, especially living my life on the internet. It is something that I have to remind myself really often. And if you are healthily and quickly moving on after a 7-year relationship, I think that you don't want to make it harder on yourself for the sole purpose of the optics of it for the other people around you. But also, if it was really hard and you didn't move on for years, totally normal and fine. And if people thought you were moving on too slowly, who are they? You know, it's not about them, it's about you. So no matter what speed you're moving on, that's your journey to take. And what people think literally doesn't matter. How do you cope with anxiety and sadness when you have no reason to feel that way? This, I think, is important because I want to validate you that even if you don't have a reason to feel sad or a reason to feel anxious, if there's not like something big happening in your world, those feelings are still so valid and so normal. Especially the more I learn about our body, the more I learn that like something can physically be happening in your body that throws your body into anxiety. It doesn't have to be a circumstantial thing. And I think that that's a lot of what I've struggled with over the last few years and just like navigating flares and autoimmune diseases, chronic illness. I feel like sometimes I have anxiety out of nowhere for seemingly no reason. And I've had to have a lot of grace with myself being like, even though there's nothing circumstantially happening in my life that I should be anxious about at this moment, it is fine for me to feel anxiety because my body is trying to tell me something. And just having like grace and compassion towards your body when you do feel sad, depressed, anxious, stressed, whatever that might be, and listening to it and trying to be like, hey body, hey brain, how can I support you right now? Because you're clearly asking me for some sort of help is incredibly helpful. At least it is for me. Advice for someone in a relationship, but my parents don't approve of him. That's hard. I think what it is important for you to do as the child of your parents is to assess their intentions, their health, and the way that they care for you. And if you think, I actually really trust my parents' opinions and judgment, and I know that they really truly deeply care for me and they live a life the way that I want to live, they have a healthy relationship that I want to have one day, then maybe it could be good to hear them out and ask, hey, why don't you like this person for me? Are there red flags that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? Just be honest with me. I would rather know now than, have this go on longer and have it be harder. But if you feel like, I don't know how healthy my parent-child relationship is right now, my mom or my dad or my whoever has had like a toxic pattern of things that I don't necessarily want to emulate in my life, then, and if you feel like you're in a loving and safe and compassionate relationship, then maybe the healthier thing to do is to be like, hey mom, dad, parent, whoever, thank you for caring for me. Thank you for caring about me. I respect that, but I am going to implement a boundary right now where I don't want you to make it so obvious how much you dislike this relationship, and I would love to still see you and be around you, but if it gets too hard, then I might have to like figure out ways to make this dynamic a little healthier. Maybe that's taking a little more space. It can vary so dramatically based off of your relationship, you and your parents' relationship, and like the state that your parents are in, because we're all just humans, and they might have a lot of wisdom, or they might be projecting things from their own life that may not be accurate onto you. When is enough in a relationship? I've been with my boyfriend for 10 years, good times, but also very bad. I'm a people pleaser, so I feel like I don't know when to leave. I'm going to just tell you point blank from that comment right there that it's enough. It's so enough. And you've clearly given him a lot of your time. And if there's been some really bad times and the only reason you feel like you're staying in that relationship is because you're a people pleaser, you don't want to hurt him and you don't know how to leave or when to leave. I know it's hard and way easier said than done, but I would say it's time. And there's so much goodness ahead for you. There's so much goodness ahead for you. Live your life for yourself for a while. And maybe one day you'll find a partner that you don't have to feel like you need to please, but that you both just equally really enjoy being around each other. And I know that's hard to say, but you got this. Give your little sis some financial planning advice, please. First, when I read that, I was like, my little sister's better at financial planning than I am, but then I realized you meant you. When I was 19 and literally just a server, I got fully set up with a financial planner and advisor because I recognized like I need to learn now. I need to implement habits now, especially while I'm so young. And I also recognized the importance of like compound interest, if you will, or just like the compound effect on my dollar. So I was like, if I start investing now as a teenager, even if it's just, I'm only making $100 a night at my serving job, but even if it's just $10 a month, the way that can compound by the time I'm 60 and ready to retire is life-changing. So that was incredibly helpful to me. You don't need to go get a financial advisor. A lot of financial advisors are free. They will just set you up with their systems and tools, and then they make like a commission off of you basically without you paying. But what I would recommend is setting up some sort of automatic investment situation, and you always pay yourself first. And how much that is and what that means can totally differ based off of your income, your expenses, what you can afford. Like I said, when I started this, I was making $100 a night. I was making $2,000 a month. Like I was making barely enough money to survive, but I made it a priority to set aside something at the beginning of every month. If you wait until the end of every month, it is so much harder because inevitably things pop up, opportunities, hangs, coffee, drinks, friends, all those things pop up throughout the month. But if you set something up to where at the first of every month, $10 are going to go into this account, that is a really great habit to build. What I would recommend is I have lots of ways of investing now, especially now that I have like a financial planner doing a lot for me. But something I have always done, there's this app called Ellevest, Ellevest. It's like a woman empowerment financial literacy platform tool. They have investment things. It's so user friendly and easy. And you can just set up like an auto invest and you can see how much it's grown. I put in so little a month and now that account is at like thousands and thousands of dollars. Because I've been doing it for nearing 10 years and I don't even think about it. It just gets pulled from my account before I ever see my money and it compounds over time. So if you're my little sister, I would get you signed up on something like Ellevest, but there's so many different ones out there. That's just the one I use so I could speak to it. I am feeling late in life. And then they said having kids, having a career, etc. I think that honestly, a lot of times the people like me who have tried to rush through life and do things all really quickly. I mean, obviously I don't have kids, but in some ways, look at people like you who are taking their time, figuring it out, living in the moment and in the present. And there's some things that sound so much more appealing about that too. The grass is always greener on the other side. You can feel behind in life and look at people that are just, boom, 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 checking things off of their like life list so fast. And it's easy to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. Look at all they've done. But they might look back at you and say, oh my gosh, I've rushed through all of this. And I wish I just like was my age and like enjoyed that. So not saying everybody on either side feels that way, but just know that there are perks to no matter what you do. And there's not one correct way to live life. You are probably learning so much about yourself, getting to know yourself, your interests, your hobbies so well that by the time you do have like a career that you're settled in, or by the time you do have kids and a life partner, you might be ahead in some other ways of knowing who you are and what you want and what you want to build, and not having to like take that journey in a roundabout way. You're doing great. The way you're doing your life is meant to be for you. And whether you have kids young, or like my parents not having kids till your late 30s or even older, like you could be so happy and successful and fulfilled no matter what tempo, what pace you do life. And let's end with this. There's a lot of divorce questions in here, and I hope to be a resource and valuable as someone that is very much on the other side of it. So thank y'all for submitting your questions about that. But this is currently going through a divorce at age 27, and I feel so lost. I wonder if I'll ever find love again. What kind of mindset should I have in order to get through this step by step? I would encourage you in this moment, if you're going through the divorce, to not worry too much about finding love again. If I were you, if you're asking about what mindset should I be in, I would encourage you to enter this season with the most selfish mindset that you could possibly get. All this time that I now have that I used to spend on a partner, this money that I used to spend on a partner, this whatever, this is for me. I'm gonna live this next season, if it's 6 months, 6 years, who knows, fully investing in myself, because that is a really special gift that not a lot of people get to experience, especially in their 20s or 30s or whatever age you're going through. And I do think being selfish, working on yourself, living your life for yourself, going on adventures, taking classes, like having girls' nights, doing whatever feels so fun for you is going to heal you and build you up as this confident, fulfilled human being that doesn't need a partner, but then will be able to attract a healthy partner. And like that's kind of part of the process to one day finding love again. But if you're going through a divorce right now and just thinking, how will I ever find love again? I do think that kind of is a disservice to the journey that you're about to go on. And I'm excited for this journey ahead of you, because it is truly like the most liberating thing, truly, to just have a little selfish era. Okay, I've talked for so long. My makeup is done. So I am going to go set up to film part 2 and continue this conversation with y'all. And that will be out next Monday. Thank you for submitting your questions. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope my advice doesn't suck, because I can't tell you for sure. I love y'all. I actually get teary thinking about how special this community is, and just getting to hang out and talk about life with you guys as a job is crazy and so fulfilling. I love you. I will see you for the second half of this conversation in exactly 1 week, but a normal vlog very soon.